Hey there, did you know that over 60% of small businesses actually fall victim to cyber attacks every year? Mm-hmm. Yes, right. I'm Ajake. I'm a cybersecurity expert with several years of experience. I'm here to help you keep your devices safe. So, what we'll be talking about in this video is top endpoint protection tips from removing your administrative accounts to enabling multi factor authentication. Just stay tuned for practical advice that you can actually implement right away. And by the end of the video, you'll have the knowledge to actually significantly reduce the risk of cyber attacks on your devices. So let's get right into it. But before we get into it, just put in the comments below, like, what's your biggest cybersecurity concern? I'll actually like to hear from you. So, like, effective endpoint protection is actually critical. Effective endpoints protection is really critical for actually securing any small organization's network and sensitive data. So, endpoints include things like your desktops, laptops, mobile devices, and other connected hardware devices. So, hardware devices meaning your printers, medical equipment, your mouse, and thereabouts. Your So, since technology is actually highly mobile, computers are actually frequently connected to and disconnected from an organization's network. So, it makes them really vulnerable to all sorts of attacks. While many attacks are delivered via mail, like in my previous video, I made a video about protecting your email protected system, like protecting your emails. So, like most attacks are actually delivered through emails. Some other attacks can actually occur as mid client side attacks that actually exploit vulnerabilities within the endpoints. So there are some practices for small organizations, and we usually use the NIST framework references. So these references just refer to, let me, so what I mean is the NIST, the NIST framework references. So these references just they are just like a set of recommended practices that are specifically designed to help small organizations implement effective endpoint protection controls. Yeah. So we have quite a number of them that can be used. These practices actually align with the National Institute of Standard and Technology. That's the full meaning of the NIST cybersecurity framework, which provides a structured approach to managing and reducing cybersecurity risk. So, some of those NIST frameworks that these organizations can use include the PR.80, and this just stands for Protect Awareness and Training. So, this ensures that personnel are actually aware of this framework, but rather this reference, what's contained in it is just ensuring that personnel are aware of cybersecurity policies and they are trained to handle potential threats. For example, like regularly conducting cybersecurity awareness training for employees so that they can recognize phishing emails and any form of other threats. Then we also have the PRIP1, which this one is protect information protection processes and procedures. That's for establishing and maintaining baseline configurations and inventories of organizational systems, like maybe hardware, software, firmware, and whatever. For For example, just for keeping a up to date list of all the endpoints and ensuring they follow the standard security configurations. We also have the PRAC4. This is protect access control. So for managing access permissions and authorizations, ensuring that users have the appropriate level of access. So for example, in the system, you have to implement role-based access control to ensure that only authorized personnel can access certain applications or data. Then we also have PR IP12. This means protect information protection processes and procedures. So for implementing a vulnerability management plan, for example, like regularly scanning for vulnerabilities and applying patches to software and systems promptly, like effectively. We also have the PRDS1 to protect, this one is protect data security. So protecting data at rest, ensuring sensitive information is encrypted and secure. For example, like using encryption software to protect data stored on endpoints like maybe laptops and mobile devices. We also have PRDS2 protects data security too. So also protecting data in transit. So the first one is protecting data at rest. This second one is protecting data in transit using ensuring data being transmitted over networks is actually secure. For example, like using secure communication protocols like HTTPS to encrypt data that is transmitted over the internet. We also have the PRAC3. Let's protect access control 3. Controlling accesses to assets to prevent unauthorized users from gaining access. For example, like implementing multi-factor authentication, which can help to secure remote access to sensitive data and applications. Like these are just specific actions and controls that small organizations can implement to enhance the security of their endpoints. And by following these practices, like they can actually better protect their network and sensitive data from potential threats. So there are actually some basic endpoint protection controls we're going to be discussing also. And these controls, they're very fundamental for that every organization will have. Like these practices, every organization, small organizations particularly, should implement it so that their endpoint security, to ensure a huge endpoint security. So some of them include removing administrative accounts from most users so that they can limit potential damage from the compromised endpoints. Also, keeping endpoints patched and up to date to address vulnerabilities. Implementing antivirus so that they can protect against malware and other threats. Turning on endpoint encryption to secure data on devices, enabling firewalls so that they can block unauthorized access, using multi-factor authentication for remote access to enhance the security, encrypting network accesses to applications to protect sensitive data during transmission, and also finally educating employees on the importance of reporting lost or stolen devices. We're going to discuss each and every one of these. So this first one is removing administrator accounts. So most users in any organization, they do not need to be authorized as system administrators with expanded system access and capability. So once you remove the administrative access on endpoints, the potential damage caused by any attacker who compromises that endpoint is actually significantly reduced. So it's only authorized personnel that should be allowed to install software on application. For example, like an employee in maybe the marketing department should actually not have administrative rights to install software. Only the IT personnel should have the ability to install and manage software on company devices. So it's always nice, good practice actually, for organizations to conduct regular audits of software applications on each endpoint, maintain a list of approved software, and remove any unauthorized software as soon as it is detected. So next, we're also going to talk about keeping the endpoints patched. By now, for anybody in the cybersecurity space or anybody in the tech space, you should know about updating your system. So that's when we talk about patching. So most patching just means like regularly updating. So patching systems helps to remove any form of vulnerabilities that can be exploited by attackers. So each patch modifies a software application. So it makes it more difficult for hackers to maintain programs aligned with the most current version of that particular software. You have to configure endpoints to patch automatically and ensure that third-party applications, for example, maybe an Adobe Flash, is patched as soon as possible. So if a new security patch for Windows is released, it should be automatically applied to all company devices. I know big corporations do that, but I'm really emphasizing for small organizations now because sometimes you might not want to pay attention to this, but these are really important. Like once any new Windows release or whatever operating system the company is using, whatever, once the patch for it comes out, just automatically update it, apply it to all the company devices so that all the vulnerabilities can be fixed. Similarly, any third-party software like Adobe Flash should also be updated immediately so that it can prevent any exploitation by attackers. Then next we'll talk about implementing antivirus software. What's antivirus software? So antivirus software is readily available at low cost and effectively protects endpoints from computer viruses, malware, spam, and even ransomware threats. So each endpoint in the organization should be equipped with antivirus software that is configured to update automatically, providing continuous protection against any threat that is going to emerge. For example, installing antivirus softwares like McAfee or Norton on all company devices and actually configuring them so that they can receive automatic updates and ensure that the latest virus definitions are applied to protect against any new threats. We also have turning on endpoints encryption. So, installing encryption software on every endpoint that connects to your system, especially mobile devices like your laptops. You have to maintain audit trails of this encryption so that they can track the devices in case they are lost or stolen. This simple and inexpensive precaution can prevent a complicated and costly data breach. So, for example, for devices that cannot be encrypted or managed by a third party, you can just implement physical security controls that can minimize theft or unauthorized removal, such as maybe anti-theft cables, maybe you have locks on rooms, maybe badge readers so that they can monitor access. For example, like you can use encryption software like BitLocker for Windows or File Vault for Mac to encrypt data on all company laptops. And once you implement all these physical security measures, okay, some physical security measures that can also be implemented, like locking the laptops to the desk with anti-theft cables, using badge readers to control access to server rooms, and so on. That can really help. Then we go to enabling firewalls. Absolutely important to enable firewalls. Enable local firewalls for your endpoint devices. Please, like firewalls that especially important for mobile devices that may be connected to unsecure networks such as Wi-Fi at coffee shops or hotels. Firewalls just help you to block any form of unauthorized access and provide a critical layer of defense against network-based attacks. For example, so once you ensure that the built-in firewall on the Windows or Mac OS is enabled on all the company devices, so for mobile devices, using firewall apps to protect against unauthorized access when connected to public Wi-Fi networks. Then next, we talk about enabling multi-factor authentication for remote access. So for devices access offsite, like so for some devices that are going to be accessed offsite, so people working from home, because I know a lot of companies now people work hybrid and do hybrid form, or some people even work remotely most of the time. So once those devices are going to be offsite, they have to leverage technologies that use multi-factor authentication before actually permitting users to access data or applications on the device. So logins that use only a username and password, they are often usually compromised, like through phishing emails, easily compromised. So multi-factor authentication, what it does is it just adds an extra layer of security and reduces the risk of any unauthorized access. So, for example, if you want to implement multi-factor authentication in solutions like Google Authenticator or do security for all remote access to company applications and data. So you have to require the employee to use a second form of verification. Most times, usually, it's like a text message code or maybe just an authentication app in addition to the password they've already created on their system. Then we can also talk about EHR system or accessing sensitive data through application systems, either on maybe cloud or even on site. You have to encrypt the network access to these applications. So contracts with EHR vendors should include language that require medical or um, PHI data like personal health information data to be encrypted both at rest and during transmission between systems. So encryption applications, what they do is they will actually prevent the hackers from accessing this sensitive data by requiring a key so that to encrypt and or decrypt the data. So when you use things like HTTPS for all the web-based applications, to ensure that there is encrypted communication between the user's browser and the server, and requiring vendors to provide encrypted data storage and transmission solutions for any hosted applications is really important. And finally, we'll talk about educating employees on endpoint security. Every single employee, like I know in one of my previous video I spoke about is best practices always has to end with educating employees because the easiest potential threat any organization has is its employees. They have to keep educating employees on the need to report loss or theft of any form of endpoints that is within their control to the appropriate team. So you have to follow the guidelines in the company's playbook for such. The team inside the organization, for example, like if a backpack with a laptop is actually stolen at maybe the airport, the employee should have to report the theft immediately to the organizational leadership. Be that people manager, it could just be like somebody they have to just lock that in immediately. And this would help to ensure like a timely response and mitigation of potential security threats. So when in a company, if they conduct regular security awareness training sessions for employees, this would actually help to educate them on how to report stolen, lost, and stolen devices, and they will be able to recognize potential security threats such as phishing emails. And what type of threats would these practices be mitigate? As usual, the most important of all, ransomware attacks. Like once these form of controls are implemented in any organization, you're going to protect the endpoints from ransomware attacks. And this would actually lock users out of their system because ransomware attacks would lock any user out of their system and demand a ransom for access. And we don't want that. So we got to prevent it. Then we would also prevent loss of theft of equipment or data. Like these measures just help prevent the loss or theft of any form of equipment or data and ensure that any sensitive information remains secure, even if the device is lost or stolen. Once these security measures are put in place, small organizations would definitely increase the protection of their endpoints and reduce any form of risk of their cybersecurity incidents. So you have to stay vigilant, you have to keep your systems updated, you have to ensure continuous protection so that you can defend against any form of emerging threats. So thank you so much for being part of today's exploration into protecting your endpoint systems in your organization for small organizations. This is like an ultimate guide protecting your endpoints. Thank you so much for being part of it. I hope you've gained valuable insights. So whether you just want to start your day or you're going about your routine, thank you so much for listening. If you found this content really enriching, consider going into my link in my bio. Check it out if you want to work from home or just explore the page. You might just see one or two things you're interested in there. And if you're not interested, if it's not your thing, no worries, it's all right. What you can do is support me just by clicking the subscribe button, share it, like, comment. It's actually go a long way in helping me deliver more free tech content to the world. So your support fuels my ability to create so much informative videos. Thank you once again, and I wish you a super fantastic rest of your day. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.